Welcome back to the Bleeding Hearts Club, where we alchemize pain into something beautiful together. I'm your co-host, Shroot. I'm an astrologer who uses astrology as a self-reflective tool for healing and growth. And this is my co-host.
Hi, y'all. My name is Stevie. I use they and she pronouns, and I'm a tarot reader, Reiki practitioner, death worker, and mental health professional. So lovely to be here with y'all.
Yeah, so like we said last time, we got to meet up not long after the last episode dropped, and we met up to see our Lord and Savior Beyonce in concert for Cowboy Carter, and it was it was a magical experience. I am so grateful for that lady. I am so grateful. Every single hard time in my entire life, I've always been like, at least I've been alive at the same time as Beyonce. Like, things could be worse. I could be alive when Beyonce wasn't or isn't. So, yeah, she has really meant so much to me my entire life. I have kind of gone through, a lot of really pivotal changes, as I say for the millionth time. I was bedridden for 10 years, and at every kind of point in my journey where I needed something to hold on to, like really badly, where I felt like I had nothing, she would drop an album. And so it was self-titled, then it was Lemonade, and then Renaissance was like very much about me putting myself back together again after everything. So it's just, I feel like her music has just really met me where I'm at. And I know I'm not alone. I know a lot of people feel that way. And I know people have criticisms of her, and I am not negating those criticisms. But I think that the work that she does is so important, and I'm so grateful that she's doing it. And I think that was kind of my favorite part about the concert was that, I think I talk about Lilith. We've talked about Lilith a little bit before. I do have a whole workshop on Lilith, but essentially Lilith is about the absence of self-presence, that we are forced to kind of like self-abandon our sense of self-presence because we're experiencing societal persecution, or that society is forcing on us a role that we didn't necessarily sign up for, but we are kind of forced to play. And so much of like what I talk about when it comes to reclaiming our Lilith stories and like honoring our authenticity in the face of that Lilith kind of violence and persecution is that we have to write our own story, and we have to write our own narrative, and we have to kind of take control of that. And I felt like this in a lot of ways was what Beyonce was doing with this concert, was I felt like she was writing her own narrative in history. And not just her history, but the history of her people, her ancestors, her community. And I think it was just so special. And I had used to live in Houston for a little bit, and I have so much love for Houston, and you can just see the love Beyonce has for Houston with her work, and especially with this project. So that was like, I just thought it was so cool. And then she also just like, it's like she'll do this like incredible body of work, right? It's like technically perfect. It's like she's doing so much stuff on stage. There's all this stuff going on. The interludes are beautifully shot. Like it's so entertaining for everybody. Like the bar is so high for her performance quality. And then it's kind of like the aside that is running through the whole current of the whole experience of Beyonce is that she is so hot. Like, her sex appeal is crazy. Oh my God. And like I really appreciated kind of like not only that was that kind of like a whole theme throughout the whole show, obviously, but I thought that some of the interludes that she chose really spoke to kind of like desirability politic and just a dynamic that we don't necessarily get to see so often on a big screen. And I felt like it was really powerful, and I also loved a little bit of a drag king Beyonce cameo. There was a moment where she was pretending to be a John. So she was both the dancer and the John, and that was so cool. She's so creative. And so I really appreciate kind of the way that she showcases aspects of America that don't necessarily get so much shine. So that meant a lot to me. What about you, Stevie? What'd you think?
I am going to echo everything you said, mainly because I have not put words to what my experience was watching Beyonce, but I really resonate with you saying that like Beyonce has always met you just where you happen to be. And I think when self-title drop, that just changed everything for me. And then everything else after that, just it was a great time to be alive, and in college at that time. And I will just get Andrew's every episode we just reference Andrew, but like in college, anytime I would go over to Andrew's house, I would just start playing Beyonce music videos. And even if that wasn't me initiating, I'm sure it would have happened anyway. But like Beyonce meant so much to me, has meant so much to me. But especially in my emerging adulthood and now just adulthood TM now that I'm 30. But yeah, there was something about this show and being able to watch it while we were in the South and experience Cowboy Carter in such a really powerful, unique way. I felt very grateful for the opportunity to be there. And I cried and I screamed. I mean, I saw My Chemical Romance a couple weeks after, and I love My Chemical Romance. They are my lords and saviors are right next to Beyonce. And I still think that I happened to scream more at Beyonce. And I cried during Cowboy Carter. I did not cry, surprisingly, to My Chemical Romance, but maybe I got that out of the way when I saw them in 2022. But yeah, very beautiful, very impactful, just really magical and creative. And there was one point where I felt so like so surprised because one of the interludes heavily felt like it was referencing Twin Peaks and like in the Red Room. And I was like, wait, what's going on? Did Beyonce watch Twin Peaks? And I was just having to like reality check myself, but who hasn't watched it? And if you haven't, maybe you should. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, I loved it. I loved getting to watch it with my pals, Andrew and Shroot, because we watched Renaissance together a couple years ago too. So I'm so excited for Act Three. I'm very happy with, I don't know, just getting to bear witness to this and be part of it. It's so fun. I love to scream.
Well, I was gonna say, you're one of my favorite things about attending a concert with you. I'd never attended one with you before Beyonce in round one with Renaissance, but especially in this one, it's so fun for me because it's like I'm hearing Beyonce sing, and that in and of itself is a religious experience. But then I hear you next to me singing, and you're such a good singer, Stevie. Like, oh my God. And every time you sing, like it's like I know this now about you, but like I'm still so taken aback. And so it was like it was so fun for me to hear both you and Beyonce together. I was like, this is like a level of like just like transcendence of experience, just hearing both of you together. Like when she was singing like flamenco and stuff, like I was dying. I was like, Stevie, you sound so good. But I didn't want to make you self-conscious, so I didn't say anything.
No, I have to learn how to take it in. I think it also helps that like Andrew's also singing with me and we're just like harmonizing.
Yeah.
We are Destiny's Child.
Oh my God, it was so good. Yeah, I had such a blast with both of you. And I just felt like it was so nice, you know, we our weekend went by so fast, but like it was so good to see Stevie and Andrew. Like I felt like all we did the whole weekend was laugh and like, you know, like literally Stevie falling out of her chair so many times. And that was so nice. And we'd never been to Atlanta before, and it was really cool. I really liked Atlanta. And yeah, it was a really amazing experience. I'm really grateful that we got to do that. It's just like very like one kind of blip of positivity in the midst of like a sea of stress and distress. Because, you know, listener, we are not well. Like, I know we're talking about something really joyful, and so that sounds kind of like, oh yeah, life is so amazing. No, there's a lot going on and we are pretty overwhelmed ourselves and we're just kind of doing the best we can. So one of the reasons that we are kind of like memorializing this, holding this is because I think it's so important to kind of, you know, hold on to your joy. That was what we talked about in the last episode, right? And we said we would be accountable and we would say, okay, here's our joy, we're offering it, you know. So that's kind of part of why I wanted to share about our experience because it is not representative of our full reality. We've got a lot going on behind the scenes that's really overwhelming, and I know everybody else does. I know we're all kind of in it. We are in the soup. I just saw this is sorry to bring economics into this. I really deeply apologize to all my gays for bringing economics into this, but I just saw a shipping news company, like a freight company, because of course I follow that. He was like just spoke to like builder industry people, and they said that the housing construction market won't recover until 2027. And I was like, yeah, that lines up with the astrology of like we're in a churn where things are changing, things are super malleable until 2027. And so I wish I could be like, yeah, hold on, it's almost over. It's not. We are definitely in a marathon, and that's like where we're speaking from when we give all the resources that we do. So I just like wanted to offer that as like a, we really encourage you to hold on to your joy because it's going to carry you in a lot of ways. And so for us, Beyonce is an example of that joy where I've been re-listening to all the music all over again. One of these nights, I spent like hours watching people react to Beyonce, like people who had never really listened to Beyonce before react to her online. And it's like one of my favorite things to do because like it takes me back to the moment where I heard these things for the first time. And it's like so nice to see that kind of mirrored experience of my old experience on somebody's face. And it just kind of like it's a way of like experiencing Beyonce for the first time again through the eyes of somebody experiencing Beyonce for the first time because I will never be able to do that again. I am hag hive all the way. So yeah, it was really nice. So yeah, shout out to Andrew for bringing us together. We really appreciate it. In many ways, this podcast wouldn't exist without Andrew, as we always say. And so we wouldn't have met up these last couple years without Andrew bringing us together for Renaissance and Cowboy Carter. So yeah.
Our Lord and Savior, Andrew.
Destiny's Child. Oh my God.
Oh,
Speaking of Destiny's Child, Blue, holy sh oh my God. Yeah, you should watch Blue do her little dance. This is my hot take. I wish for Blue that this is Beyonce's daughter for anybody who does not know who Blue is. But and sorry if you're listening to this and you don't know who Blue is, because we've just been talking about Beyonce. Um, but like, I wish for her that she does like whatever she wants to put her heart into. But like, how fun would it be for her to like not do music for a living and not do performance and not do celebrity for a living and like go be like Bridget Mendler and like go be like a scientist or something? And like, she's just like, this is like a fun thing she did like in between school, like, for a couple years in her teens, like her tweens. Like, to me, that is like a level of legendary that like I just don't think that any other human being on the planet can experience. And like that to me is so exciting. But of course, whatever she wants to do, I'm here for it. It was really like cool to see because we saw her at Renaissance when she did the little dance break, and to see her in majority of the show at this point was incredible. And it seems that from the beginning of the show, like the beginning of the tour, she was in a lot less of the choreography. And then by the time we saw her, because we saw her at one of the last shows, she was all the way to the very end. It was incredible watching Blue. I mean, she really commands a lot of stage presence in a way that even if you didn't know she was Beyonce's daughter, you would be like, damn, look at that kid. Holy shit, she going off. Like, so it's really cool to see. She really put that Capricorn work in, and she really dedicated herself to this. And so yeah, I just think it would be really fun for her to be like, yeah, that was a cool thing I did one summer. Like, that's my hot take.
and then she just goes back to school, like now.
Yeah. Well, I looked it up back when she did Renaissance because we saw her in like September. So I was like, why isn't she in school? I was like, what the hell? So I had looked it up then, and yeah, she's like a homeschool. It's like a very like it's a very DIY type vibe for her schooling. So it made sense. But yeah, this time I think this time because Rumi was also there. That was because people were saying they thought the tour was anyway. I'm so sorry. We are like Beyonce Hive like all the way down. But yeah, I think that it wasn't necessarily because of Blue, but it was because of Rumi that the tour was shorter and less cities and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, are we ready to move on to the horoscope?
Yeah, let's get into it. Oh, sorry, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, don't leave us unattended. We will talk about Beyonce. Like you should like literally our group chat is called the Beagency after that SNL skit. If anybody has seen that, love that skit. And we are truly like hive all the way down. So we apologize. I think we've kept it off the podcast up until this point, but we had to indulge ourselves for the one the one episode. But okay, the dates for this horoscope are August 12th to September 9th. So we're kind of like dealing with like the aftermath of Mercury retrograde and then transitioning into eclipse season. And so eclipse season is who boy she's intense. And so I just want to put forward that like we are like going to do our best to hold community space in September. I'm going to be traveling, so it's a big question mark about if that's going to happen. Most likely it will happen, but I just want to prepare you if you don't see an episode go up in September, that's why. Um, but eclipse season is going to be intense, and so we're going to do our best to prepare you for it. In terms of something I've got going on August 16th, on Saturday, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, I am holding a workshop where we're going to basically get ready for eclipse season together. So if you want kind of community space to talk about kind of any problems that you're dealing with or anything going on for you, and you want kind of like advice on how best to support yourself during eclipse season, I highly recommend checking out that workshop. We won't be able to set new moon intentions for the new moon in Virgo because I will be traveling during the new moon, but I will give you the intentions. We will go over them. If you have any intentions you want to set, but you don't know how to like put them into words, like that will be the space for that. So, it's going to be just like a community gathering where we vent and prepare for the eclipse together. So, if you want to check that out, the link is in the bio or the show notes. Feel free to join me because when you hear this and you're like, oh, this is an insane, what's the word? Like episode of the tarot horoscope, like just know that we are offering resources. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to kind of like endure this period of time alone. So yeah. Any thoughts, Stevie?
I'm just, my brain is so fried from this retrograde.
Yeah.
And that's just like knowing that we're gonna go into eclipse season. Like, I'm so tired.
I'm very worried for us. I think we are, October at least is a little bit of a bright spot, but we are gonna roll into October like shipwrecked, essentially. So I apologize for that.
Zoinks.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck,
Oh,
everyone.
truly.
Okie dokie. You ready?
Yeah. What deck do you have for us?
Okay, I have the Radiant Wilds Atlas deck. Ah, this one
Beautiful.
is the Inner Desert Dreamscape one. Away. Okay, I pulled three cards per usual. The first one is the world. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so it's so hard to even like conceptualize this with the state of my mind right now, or just like the state of this retrograde, but maybe this can be hopeful. So things are coming full circle. Maybe this is signifying like that you're approaching the end of something, or there's like a sense of like wholeness or oneness, something like that. It feels almost like a kind of like Shroot was saying, like we're going into something like shipwrecks. Like we made it, and that's good enough. We'll we'll figure the rest out later. But I think as this is kind of closing up, something's ending, something is coming full circle. I think it's important to be curious about what needs attention right now. Like what deserves your attention? I'm thinking about like this aspect or concept of pushing yourself way past your limits in order to achieve something and or in order to just get through something. And so when that happens, we're less likely to take inventory or check in with ourselves about like where we feel depleted or what we need more of or what we need less of. Um, so where have you been putting your energy into? Like as this stuff is wrapping up, like what do you need? Do you need sleep? Do you need to go outside? Do you need to hang out with friends? Do you need like more meals a day? Like what is going on right now so that like one, you can get through the finish line if you haven't already, but also recover from that end so that you can just recuperate and be a person again because yeah, things just aren't going to stop. And the universe, life, other people, like they're not going to carve out that time for you. You have to do it for yourself. Otherwise, it's just going to be forced upon you. Like you won't have any other choice but to make that time for yourself. So I'm just like, these are words to myself for sure right now. Um, but okay, aside from this like very depleted place that I'm coming from, Um, I also want to say don't let the pain or grief of an ending stop you from seeing what's actually taking place. Like all of this was for something. You pushed yourself this far to achieve something or to see something. So what is it? Like that deserves celebration too. What are you proud of? What are you hopeful for? What has been like grounding and supportive? And, you know, what exactly is all this? And what's making it so worth it, I guess. So let this be confirmation that wherever you're at right now is exactly where you need to be in the grand scheme of things. Even if it's like, okay, great, this is ending, but I'm so tired. Like, there's more to this that you can't see, and you really won't see until you get there. So for now, you can just ask yourself, what did I learn? What made me wiser? What lessons am I done learning? Because sometimes we're just going to learn lessons over and over again until we get it and it sticks. So stay in this place of reflection for a while and don't rush into taking on the next thing. And then I got like a little image of a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. I don't know if you knew this, but like when butterflies leave their cocoon, their wings are still wet. So those need to dry out a little bit. So they will probably, fly a really short distance, like just a few feet, and then hang out there for a while, flap their little wings, and then go on to the next thing until it's fully like, okay, I'm here. I'm a freaking butterfly now. I'm gonna head over to Mexico. Well, I guess I'm just thinking of like monarch butterflies specifically. Um, but yeah, just chill out. Take a second. Let your wings dry up. And then take off where you need to go. Okay. Shroot, what do you think?
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of beauty. So there's a really beautiful transit happening on August 12th, and we're gonna kind of feel the resonance of this throughout the whole month of August. So really kind of hold on to that. But it's Jupiter in Cancer conjunct Venus in Cancer, and this is in all of the turmoil and all of the muck, it is one of the most beautiful transits of the year. So one of the reasons I think this card came up, and one of the reasons I think it's so important to hold on to the nourishment, to hold on to the joy, is because um, joy is something that's experienced in the body. Joy is not something that we kind of like perceive in our minds of like, oh yeah, I think about a time I was joyful. It's like, no, like I have to call in the joy in my body. I have to feel joyful. And so it's like, if we don't really benchmark this moment and hold it for what it is, we are very likely to let it pass us by and to kind of miss out on the nourishing and healing and expansive benefits that this kind of transit has to offer us. And so I really recommend, as you're listening to this podcast, like really try to call in, like, what does joy sound like for you right now? What does joy feel like for you right now? What are, a big kind of theme coming up for especially eclipse season is our sensory experience. And it's like, what is the sensory experience of joy for you? So for me, it's like when I think back to the weekend that Stevie and I spent together, like I said, we literally laughed the whole weekend. I was like, I don't think I remember a time like that I laughed for that like many hours straight. Like we just laughed the whole time. And that was so joyful for me. It was like we were we were going through it on a multitude of levels outside of the concert itself. There was a lot of like disability related stuff going on that was kind of tough, but we just kind of laughed our way through it, and as much as it was uncomfortable, it was like the experience of joy in my body made the discomfort so much less like relevant. And I think that that's kind of like the power that joy has to offer us. And so, really, like, make an active practice to open yourself up to feel and experience the joy in your body, and to really go looking for it. And so, that's what I really liked about what Stevie said about finding something to celebrate, finding some kind of sense of accomplishment over what you kind of overcome. And even though you're tired, like, look for nourishment. Like, these are all kind of themes that are really Cancerian and very like Jupiter Venus conjunction associated. So, I highly recommend taking advantage of that because um, these are tough times, and we kind of have to hold on to the joy that we can as part of it is part of a survival strategy, but it is like shifting from survival into, living and being embodied. And so there's a lot of value in that. So yeah, what can you hold on to right now that kind of inspires joy in your body? And like think about like the sensory experience of joy. Like what does it feel like? So for me, like joy feels like champagne bubbles popping and bubbling through my whole body. Like it just feels so light and bubbly. And so I like to kind of call in that experience whenever I kind of need it. So like, the the second we came home from Beyonce, it was like stuff got so real for us. Like I felt like I felt like I could feel the whole, it was like a tectonic shift of like energy of like suddenly it was like by the Wednesday after we had come back, it was like, oh, doom and gloom is here. I was like, oh, okay. And it was like, okay, like with that in mind, like can I hold on to this joy that I experienced as like a memory? And can I send this memory as something I'm experiencing throughout my whole body as I go through this hard stuff. So yeah, I really encourage really taking advantage of this transit because it doesn't come around super often. And it is, especially in something as harmonious as Cancer. So there's a lot of uh, beauty and joy available to you if you can really open your body up to receive that sensation. So, yeah.
Okay, as you were talking about like joy, I'm just thinking about me having like real Southern food for the first time and almost crying. Oh my God, I had catfish and grits and fried chicken on the first night, and boy, that was joy.
Yeah. And it was like a long day, like 'cause that was travel day, and like we had just been through a lot that day. And so, yeah, it was like very great way to, and we were all just sitting at the table and we hadn't seen each other in years. And it was a really joyful experience. And Stevie was just falling out of their chair, laughing so hard.
I was laughing so hard. I saw life flashing before my eyes because I couldn't breathe. Like I couldn't actually catch my breath. And I was so scared.
Yeah,
I couldn't stop laughing. Oh my gosh.
it's
If
great.
only you guys were there. I will not be saying what we're laughing about.
Yeah, that's a secret, but it was hilarious. So yeah, I love that. That's a good memory.
Great times. Okay. You ready for the next card?
Please.
Okay, I know I just said all this stuff about taking your time, and I still really do mean take your time. Don't rush it. Give yourself some time to recuperate. But this next card is the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, and this card is asking about your long-term goals. Okay, I don't know why, but something feels like I should say don't rush into grad school because you feel like you don't know what you're doing. You will definitely not know what you're doing if you go to grad school and afterwards. Just letting you know that as someone who did that for some reason. Um okay. So after you let your butterfly wings dry and you have a greater capacity to fly longer distances and whatever, what are your long-term goals? And this is going to be a waiting game. I'm not like talking about something short term within like even the next year. I'm talking about future, almost like legacy. Mhm. Um, this isn't something that you're going to get instant results for. And I can imagine that, you might be angry at yourself or even blame yourself for being in a place that you don't want to be, or like just not being at the like point of the process that you imagined yourself being at. I get that. But it also means that you need to figure out what's sustainable for you. because this is going to be a much longer process, years, even, I don't know, like you can't just keep burning up all of your resources for the sake of achieving these goals or for the sake of like self growth and development because I don't know, you won't have much left really. So you can't keep burning yourself out for these goals. I really feel the need to say that over and over again because I feel like most people that I talk to are burnt out. And they're burnt out not just from work, they're burnt out in every area of their life. They feel like there's so much being asked of them, and it just doesn't feel like there's much space to say no or space to delegate other things to other people. And that's a hard place to be. There's so many aspects that are like coming into this, like culturally, economically. Sorry, gays, for bringing economics back into this. But like, there's just so much, so much. Yeah, I just want to say, don't burn yourself out even further, and take a break, take multiple breaks. I don't know. I feel it. Like I feel this energy of being burnt out so like prevalently right now. And I feel like we're just in a space where a lot of things are out of our control and a lot of things just get worse and worse. And then on an internal, like individual, communal level, like that's not any better. It's just really hard. And I don't know how long this is going to be like this for. So please find ways to nourish yourself, ground into joy, call in joy, figure out what's helpful for you because we're still in it. Like we're still going to be in this for the long haul. So do personal check-ins. This feels like, yeah, when we're talking about like this long-term goal, it feels more like a personal goal, like a roadblock that you've been putting off or like been putting on the back burner for a long time because other things are taking place or taking priority. I think a sentence that I heard when I pulled this card was like, once I finish school, I'll go to therapy. I don't know who that is. Just go back to therapy. Please. Um, you can't keep putting these things off. Like you really do need to take yourself seriously and to prioritize yourself. And honestly, almost like set the precedent for other people around you too. Because if you're not taking your well-being seriously and your goals seriously and your like wellness seriously, it's going to be hard for other people to do the same, even though, some people could have empathy without that, but sometimes they don't. Okay, Shroot, take it away.
Ah, ugh. I think this is really reflective of just like the kind of environment that we're in a larger scale. So on August 27th, we're gonna have Venus in Leo conjunct, or sorry, opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto is very much like the generational planet. And we experienced last year, Pluto shifted from Capricorn to Aquarius. And so Pluto is the planet that rules our buried wounds, I argue the matrilineal wounds specifically that we as a society have buried under the rug. My classic example is always that, we come to exist in our grandmother's womb because we are an egg that is in our mother's ovary in our grandmother's womb when grandma is pregnant with mom. So we come to exist in our grandmothers. We are of our mothers, grandmothers, great grandmothers, all the way up the lineage, but we take a paternal name. We don't know the names of our grandmothers. We don't hold those, but those are not stories that are told. Those are the things that are swept under the rug. And so when it comes to Pluto and Aquarius, we're in this big shift of like what are we burying under the rug right now, right? Like what are we losing access to? So what we're seeing and what we're kind of experiencing is the dismantling of, everything we know and love in a lot of ways. And so much of that is a response to Pluto and Aquarius. And so because this is happening, and then on top of that, we've got all the other outer planets shifting. And so, it's a big kind of like once in a lifetime generational shift happening right now. And it's something that's taking place across 2025 and 2026. So, things are going to be less unstable. They're not necessarily going to be better, but they're going to be less unstable starting 2027 as we start to kind of like things stop shifting so much and we start to kind of like lock into this new reality that we're living in. But something I was thinking about the other day is that because this is happening, and as much as it's affecting all of us and it's scaring all of us, the people that are actually really, really affected by this, the people at the center of being affected by these changes, is actually children. And there are going to be a large population of children and all the children going forward, that do not know the world that we know. Like they are going to exist in a world that we don't know, and this will be all they know. And so what that means is that it is our job to be the keepers of the time before. We are all historians, we are all archivists, we are all living proof that life was not like this before. And I don't necessarily think that means we need to be like stuck in like a loop of resisting the future and, you know, uh, holding on so tightly to the past that we're not really like taking advantage of any opportunities that we have in the future. Like that's not necessarily what I'm saying, even though I would love to say that as a Taurus moon. But it is really important that we understand that like children are not going to know what life was like unless we are able to tell them. And so it's really important that you think about like take this time to kind of like really reflect on the world that you know and think about how would you share the existence of that world without any of the proof that you have right now. Any of the things that you take for granted to be like, hey, look, I Googled this and therefore like that's my connection to information and so that's what I share with children, right? It's like, well, no, not anymore. Like they're not potentially going to know that. They're not going to, have that reality going forward. So, it's really important that you think about, okay, how am I going to pass down the knowledge of the time before? Kind of like, I feel like um, elders before us, when it came to a life before the internet, millennials, especially young millennials, me and Steve are like the youngest millennials. Like we grew up in a time where technically the internet had been around since we had been born. And maybe not all of us had access to it, but it had been around. And so we do kind of understand the time before internet in like a certain sense, but not really. In a lot of ways we don't. And I remember being really confused about a lot of stuff as a kid, and I would ask adults, and they just were not at all prepared to answer these questions for me. And so as a child, I had a really hard time piecing together like I know that if I need to find something out, I just Google it. What did you do when you needed to find something out? And they'd be like, oh yeah, I'd go to the library. And it's like, but when did you actually go to the library? You didn't. You just accepted not knowing. Like, and you're not saying that, like, so it's just like it's really important that we do our part when it comes to keeping this future and or sorry, keeping this history and carrying this history into the future for the children. Whether or not you have children, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be in proximity to children at any point in our lives, and we all need to be prepared to answer that child's question about the time before. So I just really want to offer that as like I think one of the ways that it can help you process what's going on, make sense of what's going on, is thinking about the future in which you don't have connection to any of these things, and you have to keep that kind of alive. Like, how do you keep the memory of your reality as it has existed so far alive, for other people? So I think there's a lot of value in that.
Wow. Yeah. Zoinks. That's all I have to say. Zoinks, rutro,
Yeah.
jinkies, so on and so forth.
It's our last year of the old world, end of 2025, and then next year it's where there's no looking back. So grieve
Jesus.
now, grieve while you can.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
All righty. You ready for the last card?
it's coming whether I'm ready or not. So let's hear it.
Okay, last card is Seven of Cups. Okay, I'm thinking about my high school. We had this. Did you have like the morning news, like morning
I was
announcements?
a middle school broadcaster.
Of course, of course. Did you make like videos and skits and that kind of
I
stuff?
did. Well, yeah, so I did the actual news in middle school and it was like pre Adobe Premiere Pro. So it was like we were editing on like a VHS editing system. Like it was old school like editing. It was really cool to see that. That was a little piece of history that was kept alive for me in the mid 2000s. But then in high school I wasn't on the news team, but I was senior, I guess public historian is what we called it at our school. And so I was making the video editing stuff for the last semester of high school. So yes, I was deeply involved.
I love that. At my high school, our sign off of like the little news thing was make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
Okay.
I say that a lot, honestly. Like ironically, but also unironically. It's just something that has stuck with me. Um, that is what this card feels like. Seven of Cups. Be aware of the choices that you're making every day. Like, as cheesy as it sounds, every day is a chance to start new. Like, I'm really sitting with that right now as somebody who really feels stuck in like my routines and my patterns and their routines and of like not having a routine or like not having a structure, and I'm feeling that really heavily. Um, but what choices are you making, my dear friend, that keep you feeling stuck and unhappy and feel like you're not making the progress you want to? Like I'm coming back to the Seven of Pentacles, of this frustration of not being where you thought you were going to be at this big age or at this point in your life. And what choices are you making that feel really energizing and affirming to your goals and to yourself? Because it's not just one or the other, like all of these things are happening at the same time. For every really annoying, uncool thing that's happening, there's also something good that's happening that also deserves that kind of attention. And again, your emotions are heavily impacting your actions. So if you wake up and you're feeling like poop and you're making decisions that like also make you feel like poop, you're going to be stuck in this cycle of poop. But also, like, just because you're feeling something doesn't mean that you have to make a decision or like have to make an action that is aligned with that feeling. So, like, you can wake up feeling like poop and then still make a decision to do something that is the opposite of that. Like, oh, this morning, like, I feel really depressed and really anxious, and I'm not going to eat breakfast because I don't have the energy to make food or something like that. Like, I can feel that way and give space to that because that's so real. And I can still make breakfast. Like, I can still choose to make breakfast or even just do something that gets food in my body, even if it's a handful of cereal and no milk. Like, there are things that you can still do. And then slowly but surely, like alignment can happen where you're making these decisions, you're doing these actions that are aligned with how you want to feel or how you want to be and exist. And then, it kind of shifts into that with time. But yeah, does that make sense? I'm thinking about what I have to do today or like what I can do today that can help me get out of whatever this feeling is. And if you are feeling a little stagnant and stuck, I guess I can just share like something that I do sometimes is I will like put together some like herbs, dried herbs or something. It's usually rosemary, maybe a bay leaf or whatever flower things you have on deck. And I just make a tea out of it. And I can like set intentions into the tea, like ask it to help me like cleanse my mind, body, and spirit and help me call my energy back to myself, recharged and refreshed so that I can just like be one with myself again. I don't drink the tea. I bring that into the shower with me. And so I'll take my shower and I'll do whatever. And then after my shower, I will just pour the tea on me, kind of like a little sealant um, that helps me get through the day. Like these rituals don't have to be these big, expansive, sorry, something happened. Um, like things. You don't need like to do it on any specific day or any like specific moon cycle or anything like that. You can just bring these things together to support you and yeah, just call on something else. Yeah, that's what I did yesterday. So I'm going to offer that to y'all. Okay, Shroot. What did the
Wow.
song say?
Oh my, well, I forgot to inform you.
Great.
No, I want to respond to what you said. Wow, I love that idea. I had never thought about that. I've been feeling called to like brew tea, but not to drink it. And so I've been really confused by that. But now I know. I'm like, oh, okay. I've also been feeling really called to yoni steam. And so, obviously that's like a talk to your doctor type thing. I'm not necessarily recommending it to everybody, but I've worked with my health coach and kind of figured out how that works for me. So it's cool for me to do, but I think it's in the same vein of like connect with the herbs and so much of like this upcoming eclipse season. This card is very much representative of eclipse season and that like beginning piece of eclipse season. So our first eclipse is on September 7th, and it is the total lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's at 15 degrees of Pisces on September 7th. And so much of this eclipse is going to be about releasing any of the blocks that we have around um, our sensory experience or honoring our sensory experience. And so much of this upcoming Virgo season being eclipse season, and the nodes also being in the North Node being in Pisces and the South Node being in Virgo, like so much of that is about like being honest with ourselves about our sensory and stimulation needs. And so that's going to be one of the most important things that we can do this upcoming season. And so I love the tea. It's kind of like a spiritual bath example of connecting with those herbs, connecting with the smells, connecting with the temperature, connecting with the shift in experience that something like that can offer you. And so I really encourage people to really root into the minutia of your sensory experience and really pay attention to what are the things that are, especially in your mind, what are the mind patternings that you have that block your ability to honor and respect your sensory experience? So, I have one kind of easy example of like when we went to Atlanta together, we went to the concert one day, and then the next day we went to the aquarium in Atlanta. And I knew that the aquarium was the largest aquarium in the country, but like I forgot what that means, Like I had been to an aquarium in Tampa, and it is just a lovely, sweet, precious, amazing aquarium. It was such a vibe. I had such a great time there. That in my head I was like, oh, it'll be just like that. I love aquariums. Um, and I didn't put together that like, oh yeah, it's a weekend. I had gone on a weekday. It's the largest aquarium in the country. There's going to be so many people and it's going to be so big and so loud. And when we got there, I was so overwhelmed. Like I had never really honored my sensory experience before in my life. And so in this phase of my life, I'm really honoring that. And so I just like my body shut down. I was so overwhelmed. And I think I went through every emotion in that period of time. Like I was like regretting ever going. I was like, wow, like I should have stayed home. This is like way too much. I'm so overwhelmed. Um, it was just so much. And so like what I kind of took away from that was that, okay, like this is a sensory need for me that like I can't be in these big crowds of like it's different to be at a concert when it's a big crowd because everybody's focused on one thing. Whereas at the aquarium, everybody's the main character in their own story. And so it was like everybody's doing their own thing. And it was just like pure chaos. And it was like, okay, noted. Like I can't handle that. Sensory wise, that's not for me. And then also like the loudness, it was like it was way too much. So it's like, okay, I need to go get some earplugs. I need to go figure out like a sensory way of supporting my auditory processing because that was one of the things that was actually causing me physical pain in the aquarium. And so it's like yeah, that was a really tough experience and it was a lot of sensory overload. But because I have made the intention, because I have set the intention to value my sensory experience and to really honor and protect that, I have now, made changes. Like I went and got earplugs and I am not going to do any more crowds like that anymore. And I'm going to be really mindful going forward of like, oh yeah, this is something that's really important to me. And like I'm going to respect that. And I'm going to act in ways and make choices that honor that. And so I think it's really important, there are more than just our five senses. There's also interoception, there's proprioception, I don't know how to pronounce that word. There's vestibular, um, perception. So there's all these different sensory experiences that we have in our body. I highly recommend looking it up, and really take like time to self-reflect on like what is your sensory experience? What are your sensory needs? I know that's a common thing in the neurodivergent community, but Virgo season means that everybody's sensory experience is going to be heightened. Virgo's an extra sensory thing. It's all about kind of like refining your experience. And Virgo is very focused on refining like the material, refining the rational. But because there's such a Piscean influence in this Virgo season, um, it's really important to take in that sensory experience as well. So I highly encourage use this period of time, this first eclipse, use all of the stuff that's upwelling within you to pay attention and say, okay, how can I um meet my sensory needs? What are my sensory needs and how can I meet them? And how can I make this a priority in my life? Because I promise you, you get your sensory needs supported and you kind of like move away the block against getting your sensory needs supported, and you're going to find yourself so much more resourced to navigate all these things that you're having to navigate. There's going to be so much less resistance, both in your mind and in your body. And because there's less resistance in both, there's so much space for growth. There's so much space for the kind of new beginnings you're stepping into. And so by the time that the solar eclipse in Virgo rolls around, let's give you a date for that. September 21st. So by the time that rolls around, and the last degree of Virgo, you'll be able to have a little bit more understanding of like, okay, well, this is the direction I have to go next. We'll feel a lot more room for growth. If you kind of like allow yourself to just be where you are and also be like honest with yourself about where you are. And so there's a lot of importance in recognizing your sensory experience as something that's valid and something that needs to be honored and protected because your body's important, and that's your sensory needs are what your body needs to like feel safe and to feel comfortable and to feel supported. So make that a priority this season.
Yeah, freaking Atlanta. Oh my God. This was the trip that I fully realized like I am ill.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. I actually need to take care of myself and drink
Yeah.
water and sit down and eat and not be pushing my limits. It's Shroot's preparation for chronic illness that helped me survive my chronic illness this trip. And now I have to get on this level.
It was really sweet. We really took care of each other. It was like you were pushing me around in the wheelchair everywhere, and then I was keeping you from passing out.
It's so hot there.
I was trying to prep Stevie every time we talked about the trip, I was like, Stevie, it's going to be so hot. Bring something to sweat it. You're going to be sweating. It's going to be so hot.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that like I didn't sweat,
Mhm.
but I suffered.
Yeah.
Like I didn't sweat in the way that I thought I would, but I definitely felt the heat.
It's not desert heat, that's for sure.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
It's
it
like
was
a
a
sauna. Yeah. Which
yeah,
saunas aren't great for people with various conditions. So, but that's where.
and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But wow, there you go, everyone. That's your reading. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah. Feel free to. This is a good time to get your question answered, to be honest. So if you're grappling with something, and especially around Mercury retrograde, if you had been really toiling on something for a latter half of July. I was like, what month is before August? This is like where we are as a society. I don't even know what time is anymore. I love to be an astrologer who doesn't know what time is. That's really fun for me. Yeah, so latter half of July into first half of August, like the things that you've been really grappling with, and if you don't feel like you're getting solutions, highly encourage, write in, and we will answer your question in the next episode. So, really think about it and see if you want to get some input that is not just rooting around your brain and cycling through the things that you keep cycling through. and we can hopefully give you a different perspective or, different way to look at things. So, yeah, feel free to write in. You can actually leave us a voicemail. I'm going to say this in a much more succinct way than I did last time because that was real top of mind last time. Um, but if you'd like to send us a voicemail, you can do so on our Instagram. You can DM us at bleedingheartsclub.pod, and you can just do a little voice recording. We ask that you keep it, 30 seconds for if you're just trying to say something, like, and if you have a question, you can go up to a minute. And yeah, so feel free. You can either message us, you can send us a voicemail, you can email us at bleedingheartsclub.pod@gmail.com. We just ask you don't send any attachments in the email because we won't open them. But yeah, so we'd love to hear from you. How's your eclipse season going? How was your Mercury retrograde? How's your summer been? What's coming up for you? What are you having a hard time putting down? We would love to hear about it. So feel free to reach out. And we hope to impart some of our joy and some of our, uh, you know, living through struggle with you. And yeah, any final thoughts, Stevie?
Absolutely no thoughts.
Head empty. So yeah, we'll wrap it up. And if we'll either see you in September or we'll see you later after that. We'll see. We'll keep you posted. And we're with you, sending you love. And see you next time.
Bye, y'all. See you later.
I like that I waved as if anybody could see that. Anyway, bye.